better in the Nongshim camp. So looking forward to seeing some of those results here on the stage. Yes, there was some signs of life against BNK, but wasn't quite there in the end, right? So we'll just have to see. This is a much bigger test up against T1 as they have their first match back. It's the second for Nongshim. Already, the Jax and Corki banned away as we dive into the draft, and the first ban is going to be the Ashe. And on this patch, kind of confusing as to where that ban is going because I always associate it with Carrier.
Let's see where the Rumble/Skarner goes here, because this ban specifically right here is the tough one, because you know that T1 will pick the Skarner if you leave it open. Are they going to ban Rumble now? Is Dundon comfortable to try to Rumble against this Skarner? These are questions that we don't know the answer to just yet. But we know that Zeus is going to love to play any Prio top laner if they can get their hands on it, and they have often given them counter pick.
Yeah.
You think about playoffs going into the LCK finals, that was kind of the MO. See what this final ban will be for T1. A lot of thought going this one. It will be that Rumble ultimately banned by them. And now the Senna/Nautilus question has to pop up.
Very true.
Karyaguma, you just don't want to let that one through.
And thankfully, I mean, Nongshim can pick one of them away. I think first pick Nautilus is very powerful, though, just because it does fit with so many things. And if that Senna does end up going through, then you do get that. But then they get the suboptimal Senna lane if you don't. So I think the Nautilus ban would make a lot of sense. However, Twisted Fate is certainly one of Zeus' favorite champions at the moment.
Now, we talked about this a lot earlier this week. Is it the Senna you want, or is it the Nautilus you want when both are left up? Because Carrier has loved to play Wukong even in the type of line.
True. It is very different when it's Gruma Carrier, and so I maybe should have caught myself there because he's looked better on Ornn than on Nautilus half the time.
Now, you have to deny it, right?
Yeah, you do.
Because if you had given this over for a Tristana and, say, a Prio jungle pick, I would have been very disappointed. Now, Nidalee is still up in this game, and it's been one that we said it's advanced only. That was kind of the theme of yesterday. I think Owner definitely has the skills to pilot this champion, and I think he will take the opportunity to do so if T1 allow it. And
for me, like, I actually think you could even leave Carrier's pick
after
the bans if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
But I think that Talia would have been an absolutely huge one to lock in second, because you can theoretically still flex that one, and we've seen it be very, very powerful. You can then threaten with some other options, maybe find something that you can challenge the Tristana on. But instead, it will be one of his old favorites, sticking to the Shadow Isles theme as well, which I do very much like. Let's hope for a Gwen lock-in. But no, it is going to be Azir, as Faker going to pick up one of his favorite champions.
Yeah.
Just go for stock standard. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
A strong mid-jungle with Azir, Viego, post 6. You know, it's not as strong as, say, Ahri or the Talia. Let's see what the game plan is going to be here for Nongshim. I mean, this is definitely the memorable pick, so this hover is very funny. And now if it actually comes to pass, like, we might have a repeat. I don't think so. That champion's been changed a lot. Not really viable at the moment, but Ziggs
I don't know. You could talk to Team Liquid, man. They still like to play it.
That's true. And
that being said, I don't know whether they still like to play it. They did a couple of matches
They did play it.
Yeah.
That's the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
But the Ziggs Nautilus lane here into Senna /? Did not go well against the Nautilus lane of Pays and Lehens earlier on. We'll see if it's going to be a different story this time around. As Keria, he's going to lose his Ornn here. This is not a shocker. That's the most common next to the Kench, which will also likely be banned here as well. And it's strong bans against Keria, but you know that he has a lot of other stuff that he's willing to play, so I don't know how much of an impact it'll really make, but I think it's a stock standard and probably the most optimal choice.
I'd actually really like to see Senna Seraphine. That's what I'd like. Maybe you can get some pushback against the Ziggs, who's going to be poking a lot. You'd have double sustain, be kind of absurd. The Nidalee going to be taken away here from Sylvie. Not going to have his hands on that one. Maybe even, do you lock in Wukong to deny Carrier's Wukong? Like, Wolf, is that what you do?
Like, I mean, everybody knows.
Of course, it's Sylvie's favorite.
Yeah, everybody knows I love to talk about Sylvie's Wukong. So I'd love to see it, but I don't know if it really...
Isn't that the world door in there? Like, that's a silly world. I don't want it, like, it's too silly. You know?
It's Nongshim. Sorry, Atlas, that's how it goes. Now, this is the other pick I thought he might play if Tahm Kench was banned, was the Camille. They're more worried about that than the Tahm Kench we did see fall flat on its face earlier this week. So... True. It is possible in fact, that the Tahm Kench they feel is weaker here, and it's pretty weak into the Ziggs. Obviously, is it going to be able to punish the Ziggs as well in the lane matchup there when they're left solo against each other when the Senna is roaming around? So perhaps they're just happy to play against the Tahm Kench. I think that's a wise choice. I'm more concerned about something like a Camille that has a lot of agency and combat power into a Ziggs.
I do really like the Maokai ban. I think Maokai Tristana just a little bit too strong to let through.
There's just, there's so many different picks that can be played here for Sylvie, and I wonder if he's just going to end up going with the Xin Zhao that has been kind of the one that's left up.
I do think that Sejuani is a little bit better because it's also denial from Carrier.
That's true.
Probably
that's a good point.
Potentially wanted to play that, and so that's the only thing that would add. I do agree that Xin Zhao probably would have been what he wanted to play, and he's like, damn, I guess I have to stop Carrier from doing it. And now Carrier is going to go through a gigantic list of things he could potentially play and then land on Tahm Kench. Oh.
Well, I mean,
he is probably the best Tahm Kench that we have.
That's definitely true. I mean, he's had some insane moments on this pick during the Senna meta that we've had this year, and it doesn't always feel safe to just take the Nautilus away from T1, as once again the Kennen to be hovered here. Now, of course, this is not going to be a counter pick for Zeus. They are on blue side. Let's see what Dundun's answer is going to be into this. Twisted Fate that we saw crush earlier is gone. This does not spark confidence. I much prefer the Gnar.
I like the Yordle off, Yordle off kind of fun towards that top side of the map. The Gnar version of it is better than the Teemo version, I guess, but it is. We have seen Gnar one other time so far this season, and he's sort of making a little bit of a resurgence after a couple of buffs.
It can be decently good into the tanky farming Tahm Kench as well later on into the game. Another additional damage threat with this Tristana to actually burst down that tank, the front line that's looking to keep the carries alive. But I gotta say, I feel like the ease of execution for Nongshim just isn't there. I feel like this comp is quite complex to play out because you're once again Tristana Ziggs, so you have some burn damage in the longer fight. You can take out structures very quickly, but that's if you get control. You don't get control against T1 unless you play out a flawless early game. They should be able to get some power in that lane down there, but I really worry about what Owner is going to be able to get done here in these lanes here, mid and top, with this Viego pick, and how disastrously this could go in the early game for Nongshim, and then recovery is just not going to be an option. Plus the fact that you have to manage Narbar in these team fights, and T1 has been we've seen some of the cleanest turns in fights and Baron takes at specific timings where your Narbar isn't going to be ready, you're not necessarily going to be in position. I feel like the complexity of this draft is over Nongshim's head, if I'm honest with you, Atlas.
Yeah, it could certainly be. I do think that if there is anything that Dundun can do, it's find miracle team fights sometimes, And with some miraculous utilization of that Narbar, maybe he can sort of crush his way into these fights and find that ultimate that could be really pivotal with exactly what we saw BNK Furex try to utilize in our last series. We'll see whether it works out better for Nongshim here as they try to take down T1 here in Game 1. All right. Nongshim fans, actually, I think, almost evening out the chance here in Lol Park. A very difficult task up against the incredible amount of noise that is made by the T1 fans. Definitely very, very good here for Nongshim. So we'll see whether they are going to be able to translate that to some success on the Rift. A difficult one, but not impossible, Wolf. I think that this is like as good a draft as any. Let's see how they go. I am very, very happy to see Zeus once again on Kennen though, because we know him. He's the God of Thunder. We do say it a little bit differently, but that is still who he is.
Yeah, no, I mean that is his kind of his namesake, and it's a strong pick for him. It has been historically. He's played AD on it. He's had a lot of fun going first strike in this particular case. And one thing I want to talk about is Faker because it's been talked about quite a lot, but I feel like it's good to have a refresher that his MSI performance versus his regular season performance for spring could not have been more different, right? We've known Faker's had wrist injuries in the past. We know he's, been pretty successful at dealing with burnout as a player, as our longest standing pro player. And we'll see how well he plays in these first few weeks of LCK, because he's also been dealing with a lot of media stuff, right? The guy's been busy. He's the first inductee to the Hall of Legends. He's done a lot of media events here in Korea, right? So he's extremely busy, right? Hasn't had a ton of rest time. So I do want to, you know, look at Faker through a really, I guess, not microscope, but kind of like a magnifying glass in terms of how his lane performance is looking and how his wrists are looking, because that's a big question mark we're going to have in a long double round robin season that's ahead of him.
Yeah, and let's hope that, you know, I did see that has been playing a bit of solo queue as well quite recently. We know that there has been some issues there as well, just to pile onto it. Practice hasn't exactly been the easiest for T1. I did see that he has been able to at least get a couple of games in, and that looks like it is going okay. Hopefully that continues, and we don't have jerks being jerks. As Fisher, decent trade there, but you can see Faker just going to drink some potions. He's got some cookies there as well. He should be all right. As everything kind of business as usual here in this laning phase.
Yeah, so far, nice level 3 there from Fisher to try to get an advantage, but Faker handles it well. Top side is where Sylvie is doing Krugs right now, and you know, AS obviously being Kennen, and with the passive is going to be able to have this lane pushed up. Owner's coming over. There is a ward in this brush, but he's here faster than the Sejuani. Going to try to actually threaten and threaten Sylvie really by pulling him over here.
Gets that ward over the wall. Doesn't know that Sylvie is right here, as they do manage to start this one off. Dundun able to get the hop over, and now Owner doesn't have turret aggro. That's extraordinarily important, but it's a great boomerang to help get a bit of extra damage, but they still turn it onto Sylvie. Shuriken lands, but Dundun, enough distance has been gained, and Zeus not able to get that W off. So it is a few summoner spells now down. Double flashes used by both of the Nongshim players. And, oh, the back almost stopped there by Faker. And you could hear it here in Lowell Park. Everyone doing the whole ooh
A little bit of a groan there, but
yeah.
I gotta say, I thought the game plan was gonna be a little bit different. I thought Owner was specifically gonna try to go and pressure Sylvie and pull Dundun out of the turret, but he actually just was so fast on the play. He looked for the pick on the Dundun first, and Sylvie a little bit slow there. And as you critically pointed out, the lack of turret aggro meant that they both had to flash. Very concerning there. And if Zeus gets the stun, it's even worse here, and Dundun likely goes down. Not able to get it, though, not able to press that W. Just enough distance gained there for Dundun, but a successful play here for T1, even not in kills, or if not in kills, by the double flashes expended.
Yep. Still not end of the world, and of course T1 with a fair bit of scaling on their side. You can see already just naturally ahead in gold, largely to do with Zeus and his CS advantage that he has built up for himself towards his top side. Dundun with a little bit of a pushback, as both of the top laners are fresh off some teleports. And Faker holding his own, like you were saying, in this mid lane. Fair bit of pressure being put on by Fisher here. So far laning very, very well.
Yeah, much better than what we saw in the BNK series. Also grabbing a cull, so just trying to, you know, basically invest in hitting that spike later on. I think this is a good buy. Zeus, level up. That's half your health bar. He doesn't have teleport anymore, he just used it, so
yeah, wanders over and gets level 5, but needs level 6 if he wants to start repairing that health bar by just turning Mega over and over again. Certainly is a way that you can do it, as Faker looks for an opportunity, gets the rocket jump out of Fisher there. Faker knowing that if he presses R, a W is the problem that he has to deal with, so just baits that one out. And then looks for a little bit more. Fakes are back there as well, which was kind of cute. And now Fisher just going to try and push this in once again. Explosive charge, just helping the Tristana get control of the wave over and over again. Cannon going to be dealt with now by Faker. So, if at first you don't succeed, Wolf, you try and you try again.
The sequel, if they can hit this timing before Dundun hit 6, Zeus has 6.
Oh, Sylvie going to move on over. Oh, Guga! Anchor comes out of the wall, but great reaction there from Owner to make sure that he doesn't get hooked up. That could have been an absolute disaster. Big jump scare as well. Shout outs to Jonah Strong for keeping the drama.
Yeah, that was a really good call from Nongshim. And Guga having the experience to realize, look, Zeus is up on experience. He's going to have ult advantage before Dundun hits 6. And with flashes for both the jungler and top laner down, it's a really easy play to make. There's no getting away from that slicing Maelstrom. So it's a good roam from Guga to go over there and support that. So Dundun now does have 6. All that pressure is relieved. He's still very far behind in farm. So this is not great news, but it could have been worse, right? And Guga is able to shut down the play.
Yeah, I actually, I kind of don't mind where Dundun's at, right? He just needs to not die. I think if he doesn't die, then he can still possibly find himself an ultimate in the later stages of the game. This is what we're used to seeing with Dundun, and I'm going to cast a curse him instantly. As now gets underneath the turret. All right, he's alive for now. He's down to 100. The Shuriken is not going to land, but there's the Heartbreaker, and it does exactly that. As that's first blood going over to Ona, and Dundun is now lying flat on the dirt.
Let's be real. We all knew he was dead. I just wanted to say he was alive so I could also even up our caster curses.
Oh, thanks, man.
He didn't have flash. Heartbreaker was up. And Onar has flash as well. I mean, had and still does because he didn't have to use it, but there was no getting out of that. He could flash Heartbreaker.
Nice satchel.
Yeah. Not going to lead to too much here as Keria just tanks it up, but ultimately it's a dead top laner, but the Dragon does go the way of Nongshim on the bottom side, so not empty-handed here by any means. We'll see what soul it's going to be. It's not going to be Ocean or Chemtech, so at least chances are good that it is going to be valuable. The Drake lead is meanwhile.
Yeah, we got a gobble towards his bottom side. Mega Inferno Bomb going down though as Keria's taking so much damage. In goes Gumayusi, just trying to keep them busy, and eating the Grey Health is Keria, but Gumayushi's going to be left to the wolves, and Sylvie locks down the kill. Ona not able to get anything back on the other side, and Fisher is coming in as well, looking for some of these resets, as he does manage to get the explosive charge down, but another nice use of a bit of that thick skin, and Keria is just fine.
Keria calculated as always,
obviously.
Knows the damage, knows the numbers, knows how far he can push it.
He was at 11 HP, so he had even 10 HP to work with afterwards. As Flash being drawn by Dundun hits Mega Gnar and really starts to put some of that pressure back. Zeus, I think, was... Oh, he had actually just come back, did have some money on him, and now Dundun in Mini Gnar form has Gumayusi coming up. And once again, he's going to be pushed out of the lane.
No ult for Guma just yet, so can rest easy and take this back. But it is going to be another wave crashing into his turret before he has teleport back, and this is really unfortunate. I mean, T1 get the kill, bottom side, yes, but Faker is able to, because of Fisher's roam, grab a plate. There's a plate top side. They had that plate top side earlier, so this is a good proactive punish here from Nongshim. Really, I mean, Keria had no business going to look for this, and he does survive in part due to his Grey Health, in part due to Guma's heal coming through, but it is going to cost Nongshim a lot this play, and the fact that the kill goes over to Sylvie as well and not Jiwoo is just the kind of the icing on top of the cake of how unfortunate this is, especially with Keria getting out here, the shield going to block the extra damage from the charge there attached to him. So Fisher tries to get the kill, but ends up giving a plate to Faker instead.
Even gets his Buster shot out as well. That'll be up relatively soon, so not exactly the end of the world. Is now Gumayusi still here. Pop out here from Dundun, and Sylvie not going to pull the trigger. In fact, didn't have a trigger to pull. Still reloading on the Glacial Prison.
Indeed.
Finally, it's back up now, but not going to be able to be used just yet. Ona waiting in the wings as well, as he is going to be discovered by the Sejuani. Dundun wondering why everyone is in his lane.
Yeah, Dundun is the main character of this game.
He often is, for better or worse, is what it feels like.
We're definitely in the part of where the conflict is really rising. We'll see if we can find the resolution. If this was a story, this is the toughest part.
Did we start with Empire Strikes Back? Is that what's happening here? Oh, dear.
He is missing an arm.
Oh, no.
And it hasn't even been made robotic yet.
Yeah. He's learning who his father is. Actually, probably already knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all know Zeus is his father, let's be honest, Atlas.
That's not what I meant.
That was foreshadowing, Atlas, come on.
Too much shadowing. Speaking of which, that's where Ona is right now. He'll kite back towards the Grubs. That was the best segue that I had. He will be able to at least...
He's also Keen's grandson, Atlas! Come on, have you been paying attention?
Oh, God. He's going to be talking about this family tree the entire time. His fathers and fathers and fathers. Okay.
His great-grandfather was Smeb!
Oh, now he's playing Kennen. It's just too beautiful. Oh, God. All right, well, it is going to be Nongshim taking a couple of grubs. T1 did manage to grab their fourth. That is certainly good news for them. But Nongshim still getting a couple back, so we'll not have maximized grub power on the side of T1. Gold advantage, it is just kind of ticking up.
All right, so if I was to cup half full, if you've been watching Wolf at the LCK for the last few years, you know it's a rare occurrence, but you know sometimes we do it.
Bated breath.
The fact that Nongshim is only 1,500 gold behind in this game where insane pressure has been put on top side and it's been handled pretty well by Sylvie. He's been able to match Owner decently well. Din only 30 CS behind, not actually killed multiple times, relieved the pressure decently well. I feel like, you know, I mean, Nongshim's holding their own. That's where I'm getting at here. And
are we going with a could be worse?
I feel like a year and a half ago, we'd be looking at like a 4,000 gold lead here for T1, but I think these players are leveled up.
Heck yeah.
That's it. That's the cup half full.
I like it. And I'm looking forward to potentially a team fight for Nongshim. We were talking about this the entire time. BNK had a very similar composition. There is certainly a lot of R-button presage that you could do with this comp that could eventuate in something good, as Sylvie here does have the Glacial Prison. Owner playing very aggressively, and that's because Kerry is on his way in. Guga's in trouble. Mega Inferno Bomb comes down, but unfortunately the depth charge just a little bit mistimed, and therefore the Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't really do too much. Fisher with some time in the mid lane, and Faker was roaming down. Nongshim intelligently backing away from that one.
Really good buffer on the route there from Guma as well by Guger, so he's able to get out of dodge there, doesn't end up falling. So well handled again by Nongshim. It does feel like T1 had a huge opportunity there, but Nongshim were able to walk out relatively unscathed. Fisher does pick up a plate, but they will lose the Dragon after the exchange, and that's really the ultimate prize T1 was looking for. We just go straight back to lanes, right, and then it's Zeus the lead here, in mid lane, Faker's starting to get back control.
That's a pretty nice Dragon there as well. Hextech, Soul going to be on the cards. Both teams with one Dragon as well, so a possible 3-stack of these Hextechs if they are going to get towards that Soul as well. Very, very dangerous. So Dragon's going to be, I think, a bit of a focal point in this game.
Look at the jungle proximity, and the fact that that's only 3% different here. I mean, Sylvie's really had great sense of what T1 is trying to do with this draft and with this cannon pick.
Yeah. Sylvie as well just hasn't really been as active around these lanes either. Pretty cool that we do get to see that graphic in action. And despite that, Owner's still able to grab a few extra camps as he's Blade of the Ruin King now. I do love that it's like
more accurate.
Yeah, more accurate first item finally back. There's been so many Kraken Slayer first items for Viego, and it bothers me, man. Like, you've got an item that is your item.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's going to build that one, so that feels real good.
Even worse, Divine Sunderer, remember that?
Oh, no. That's not what you want to do. Although, I guess the name is kind of like Viego vibe.
Sure.
You're like sundering the Divine, and he's kind of got that bad guy attitude. I'm into it.
Well, we're going to see this Herald start up from T1, and, you know, this is a Senna early game, right, with sitting on a Dirk, and they're still happy to take this fight because the bottom side is where Nongshim are trying to make a play here, but even Faker is not really under any threat. Okay.
Ooh, Glacial Prison, just barely out of range.
Faker's calculated. You know.
Yeah, that looked like it hit, but didn't.
He doesn't flash those.
Nope. I would have. I would have flashed as I saw it coming over the wall, though, to be perfectly honest. I was like, oh!
He baited Sylvie's ult.
Yeah, there we go.
Hold on, walk up, walk back. It's the walking strategy again, man, I'm telling you.
I mean, the walk is the most powerful. I'm really glad that Orcs did bring that to our
He's got two boots! He knows the strat!
So many boots. I thought you said 2 boots. I looked down, I was like waiting for Swifties and Sork boots just to really get into Hooney's head, you know?
Baker's been looking for a way to unlock that lock that's on the boots in the shop for years, man. He spent the last decade trying to figure it out, but he hasn't been able to figure it out yet.
And they keep changing it right as he's on the cusp of figuring it out. Oh, man. All right, well, Gumayushi and Carrier now just shoving in this mid-wave. We'll be able to get a bit of damage down. Not a lot of people here at the ready to try and defend, but I don't think they're going to stick around. Not enough information to know exactly what's going on. And thankfully, Jiwoo does have a lot of wave clear, but they haven't really utilized satchels too much. They have managed to take down their first turret as Gumayushi gets half health very, very quickly.
Yeah, he is obviously, you know, as the Senna in this case, significantly behind in experience, and it's the burst build. So I was going to mention this earlier, but we can start talking about it because you can see in action now. He has a Ludens.
Oh man, isn't Ludens into Shadow Flame as well for like Mega Burst?
So Ox is already getting excited because he knows there's no Leandries, okay, there's no Blackfire Torch, and this is the burst that we didn't see in the previous BNK game where they tried to burst down the Senna and got her to like half health, and then she just backed and didn't care. This time you will actually have the burst against these squishy targets, right? The Viego that's not going to have a whole lot of MR, the Azir, obviously, the Kennen. This is a fantastic choice by Jiwoo, and he's one of our more creative players, but I also say in terms of itemization, he's been pretty intelligent there in the past. So That's a good sign. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually think that, and Jiwoo honestly has been one of our greatest players at adapting his builds to certain situations. We know that he was pretty famous for, you know, just picking different mythics when they were a thing on Neela over and over again, finding different opportunities and them working out most of the time. So very cool to see. And he is going to finish his Oblivion Orb as well. As now Sylvie looking for Owner. He will be able to find some Permafrost here, but that is going to be a nice buffer on the Heartbreaker. Still gets an ultimate out, and Sylvie holds on to his.
With Faker being so close by, I think Sylvie really was considering just ulting the Heartbreaker landing location, but he was like, we can't really follow. Faker's going to be there. He's got Emperor's Divide, so let's just hold it. He gets an ultimate for free.
Yeah, and also holding the ult, and in 30 seconds it's the first Hextech Dragon. Actually kind of huge that he will have that tool and Owner is out of his. So that is certainly good news. Still a lot of very pivotal ultimates now on T1's side.
One of the weaker parts of this build for Ziggs, though, is he's not going to have the same long-term damage output in these fights, so he needs to find a target with Guger and blow them up instantly at the beginning of the fight. And then Nongshim have a real fighting chance in this objective. Dundun also getting his Narbar ready, potentially for that teleport in. We'll see how well he can manage that here. Does have it now, but obviously is going to back here, so won't be able to Gnar at the beginning of this fight. But that's one of the tough parts of the ease of execution we were talking about this composition. We'll have the TP to show up, but the Mega Gnar, unfortunately, already timing out.
Yep, Trinity Force is done, so that is item number 1 here for Dundun. But Dash Cannon and 2 needlessly large rods are already there for Zeus. He is very, very, very far ahead. And that I don't think even was enough berries, you know, and that was, it felt like a lot.
Needless to say. Needless 2 rods. Yeah, he's big.
He is. And now Nongshim possibly set up. They do have control of the Banana Brush, and we know that that is always very, very important. They also have Rift Scuttle Vision. Dundun wants to charge this Narbar. T1 very, very good at turning on a dime just in general.
Dundun, they're just not giving him a ton of opportunity to charge this up. There's no blue buff or anything like that either for him to get that up with. He actually has to just auto carry or get over this minion wave. Getting closer to it, but he's under threat. And then now this is a good opportunity. I mean, look, Fisher can rush this dragon down so quickly. I think T1 are just going to have to let this one go.
Yeah, too much vision control here for Nongshim. They had control of the river. Face checking wasn't really an option here for T1. And so Nongshim able to grab that first Hextech Drake. It is not the end of the world, right? This wasn't Nongshim stacking the first 2. T1 being able to get that Chemtech Dragon actually kind of important here to delay that potential soul.
And Jiwoo's wave clear is so good that even though T1 were able to charge mid, they're not quite able to actually take the turret out itself. So Nongshim were able to defend that one while also taking the dragon. A big win would have been bigger, obviously, as you mentioned, if the Chemtech had gone their way, but still, Nongshim playing very well around this first objective. Now, T1 have gotten a lot elsewhere. It's not a huge win here in terms of the bigger picture for Nongshim, but again, as this Ziggs gets more items online, the burst gets stronger. There's definitely a world where with proper engage and that burst landing, it could end up winning some team fights here.
Yeah, and it doesn't get that much better for T1 in the next fight as well, because the 2-item spikes are starting to come in. Fisher finishes his fidget spinner, as Dagon coined it, in his very first day. And then we also have Jiwoo heading towards 2 items very, very shortly. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Nongshim can actually accomplish with that, as Guga is going to hook in a direction that wasn't exactly great for his health bar. As Gumayushi does punish him there just a little bit, but he will be absolutely fine. And there is the Horizon focus now done for Jiwoo.
Trying to keep this turret alive. I think they will.
Dundun, that was beautifully played by Zeus here as he dash cannons, and Dundun runs the other direction. It looks silly from Zeus, but Dundun has sealed his own fate. As on the top side of the map, we get a big ol' zoom from Jonah Strong as Sylvie flubs the ultimate, unfortunately. So no punish on the cross map here for Nongshim, and T1, they'll just get another kill under Dundun.
Yeah, Aslan's chilling in Narnia with all the ults that you asked missing, man. He's like, man, stop
He's on his throne of glacial prisons, you know, and crystal arrows. Yeah. Oh, and we got another team fight as Jiwoo is really dead. Zeus
is so huge.
Yeah, he has just come out of his short break, and he's like, I'm gonna play cannon, I'm gonna kill everyone. And that's what he's gonna continue to do. As another Yordle is on the ground. He's like, I am the Yordle that's allowed to exist in this game. He killed 3 of them, one after the other.
It just doesn't even matter. Like, he doesn't need his Zhonya's to set up a good ult. He's just picking people on his own. Okay, here we go. Is Sylvie the hero?
Yeah, Sylvie was looking for an angle as everyone closes in on him. And that is going to be the Baron going down. And all of a sudden, T1 are excruciatingly far ahead, and it is almost doomed for Nongshim.
It would have been easier to steal if he was playing Wukong, but...
Yeah.
But he probably still would, with that setup, it would not have mattered. And now, finally, they will get that mid-turret as owner. Will he get punished for it? There's no one near Sylvie, but there's a...
Well,
okay, Dundun teleports in.
Yeah, Dundun does have a decent Nabar as well as he's about to hit Mega Gnar. There's the flash.
No!
Another miss, unfortunately, as Owner is in the mist, heading towards that top side. Fisher, maybe you can... No, it's a bit too far away as... cue the music as
they got him right.
Down Permafrost, that one's targeted, baby.
No!
Never mind, it doesn't matter.
He's back
into the mist.
No!
The Gnar goes completely the wrong direction, and I'm so sorry.
I get up and walk off the stage if that's me.
I wanted to, man. I'm not gonna lie. I was flipping my microphone.
I mean, owner played it well, but like they should not have gotten out.
Oh, we needed to cue the trumpets. The yakety sax wasn't there, but it needed to be. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
In Nongshim's defense, I mean, the last play was probably worse. Like, that was probably the game over moment, right?
Yeah, but this one was more painful.
Oh, God,
How do they play the rest of best of 3 after that?
Well, we're going to watch it happen. That's what's going to happen from here on.
I feel like I always cast the T1 Nongshim game.
Yeah.
And they always have their own special charm.
You know what the best part is? They're almost always 3 games as well. You get it on every side.
Yep.
And this is the very serious, we're going to win.
Okay, watch this part. Watch this part.
Yeah.
Watch where he dodges it. Oh, deft play from Owner.
Yep.
I'm glad we got the first prison for that.
I mean, he did aim it towards where Owner's base was sort of... yeah, there's no saving it, really, is there? And
what does he say? What does he say? Okay, that was clever.
He wasn't even on the screen.
Well, he can't see him, obviously, so he doesn't know. He just guessed, but like, he doesn't have a sweeper. You know, there's nothing you can do.
I like the commitment from Dundun, though. If you're gonna do it, you may as well do it with all your buttons.
Yeah, if he didn't do it at all, it would have actually been worse. So you've got to press the buttons.
Well, now Owner is going to start up T1's first Hextech Dragon. That will even things out at 2 dragons apiece. The Rebel Baron power play sitting at 4,000, and now we have a gold lead that's moved up towards 7, and it was kind of 3 or 4 throughout most of this, but now we've got Void Staff, Death Cap, and Dash Cannon for Zay.
He does not trust, man. He's checking with his Dash Cannon, he's sweeping.
Oh, it's also the Yoda Cannon skin, one of the oldest in the book. But and it doesn't really look like Yoda until you're in game, and then you're like, hang on, this is Yoda. It's amazing.
It is great.
Yep.
I like Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Oh, that was clean.
That was pretty good. Bust shot getting the extra value with the AOE. Just used for disengage though, as Dundun on the split push. This is how they won Challenger that year when they shouldn't have, right?
That's true.
He's not quite at 7 deaths yet, but he could get there. As Guga making his way forward.
T1 are just not taking any chances.
Nope, no risks at all.
And unfortunately,
oh, look at the highlight.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Would you say 4.5 thousand gold is a big lead?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I could say that.
When the stats come up and it says time spent in a major lead, a major advantage, you know, that you sometimes get, I think that's what that means.
No, I think you're just T1 biased.
So is the gold in top lane. Well, the gold in top lane absolutely is as well. Oh my God.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
I mean, that play from Owner has actually broken both of us.
I know.
I'd like to apologize in advance for the rest of today. That's just, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm so glad Dagon isn't here to see us like this. Well,
he's watching at home, though.
Yeah, oh, no. Oh, please tell me he isn't. Dagon, can you send us a message and say that you're not watching? That would be fantastic.
He's on, he might be on like google.com/flights right now. He might be sending a message to the LEC production.
Things have gotten too silly over here.
All right, so, well, I mean, T1 are just grouping and taking turrets off the map. We haven't been talking about this game in a very serious light because You know, it isn't very fun to do so, but it is fun to talk about how, you know, the cannon is basically a fountain laser, and every shuriken takes half the health bars of Nongshim away.
Yep.
And then if he stuns you, you just die before he gets to ult. So he doesn't need his Zonias, he doesn't need protection. He has an extra needlessly large rod on top of the Void Staff he built third. You know, normally we're like, oh, okay, Void Staff second, you know, and then Zonias, or you go Zonias second, and you're like, ooh, can he take in that Void Staff for damage? No, he's got a Death Cap and a Void Staff.
Yeah, and also, like, Zeus has always been the guy that, like, most people think of Kennen, they're like, you need a Zhonya's, you know, you dash cannon into the fight, you press Slicing Maelstrom, and then, haha, you can't hit me because I press Zhonya's. Zeus says you can't hit me because you're dead. That's been his theory on this champion for a really long time. As there is, unfortunately, another dead Dundun carrier with a beautifully placed Abyssal Dive. And just set up for all of that damage, like you were saying.
Dodge the Abyssal Dive, he could not. How it goes.
Wait, no, Baby Yoda doesn't sound like that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
He just croons and stuff. As, all right, Mega Inferno Bomb coming down. They're trying to get a kill onto Carrier.
They get him right.
He is so tanky.
Okay, they got him.
Finally, he is going to be taken out. I thought maybe he was going to survive there as a Heartbreaker over, but Fisher actually flashes it. It's a double for Sylvie.
All
and
right.
now Zeus is here. Guga is just going to die. Fake is able to pick up that kill after just the edge of the dash cannon from Zeus helped him grab that with a Sand Soldier auto. And T1 are going to try and knock down this bottom inhibitor turret, but they're not actually going to stick around. They lose owner, they lose carrier, they don't push the situation.
Yeah, they lose the wave too, so it's really just not possible as Carrier is just chilling here. Meanwhile,
oh, we got a Faker had his back
proactivity?
stopped. I was actually wondering whether that was going to happen.
Nongshim!
And Fisher is able to cancel it. Zeus, he finds a Slicing Maelstrom, but unfortunately would have really liked his Zhonya's, so maybe that's a caster curse as well. And they get two. Both solo lane is dead. The Baron is up. That's bounty gold. Oh God, the Yakety Sax Wolf!
It is a T1 Nongshim series, and it's coming early. All right, so big punish onto Faker there. He does not have teleport, so when he respawns, he won't be able to get here. No, Zeus could, but this is only if they can delay this Baron, so Owner is coming over.
Seconds. They need 25 seconds. Dundun on the turn. There is Guga with a decent hook, Carry able to tank for a while, but there is no way that they could do anything about it. And Nongshim, they turn on a dime. They grab the pick. There's 12 seconds on Zeus. It's down to 50% health, but with Jiwoo and Fisher, this is not long for the world. And the Baron will be taken one apiece, and Nongshim on their march for the comeback.
All right, there's a lot of vision that needs to be cleared here. Nongshim can get a big push, but they have to be wary now of that teleporting cannon because he didn't use the TP. As this is Faker getting caught here, interrupted on his back. And just a lot of greed, honestly, here from T1. Zeus also getting caught by the Satchel Tarts, decides he can 1v4 and decides to flash in an ult. So if that's not happy game, I don't know what is. But look, he almost made it happen. Like, I was actually a little bit scared for a second.
And then instantly builds an arm guard as well, I'll have you know.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, maybe this is now where you need to play a little bit more respectful. But they're going to get soul point off of this. They have the Baron buff. The cannon flank angle is something they need to be aware of, so they need to make sure the clear vision. You can see they really did.
Double bounties as well, man, and they get soul point.
They're only 4,000 gold behind now, and you can see all those words around the dragon. They're like, no flanking cannon angle. Guarantee the dragon now push as fast as we can here and try to get some more gold out of this. 1,000 gold from the bounties. 2,500 gold here, the Baron power play. They're looking for one more turret here.
And it's the Yordle Demolition Squad as well with the Tristana and the Ziggs. Look at that, it just explodes. Zeus, he's another, Yordle towards the top side. He does a fair bit of damage to this turret as well, as T1 look to try and hold on to this push.
And I mean, all that AP that Zeus has means that when he starts hitting turrets, he actually hits them really hard, but with an ult here coming through from Jiwoo and Guga, or rather Dundun coming over, he's not able to take out that inhibitor turret. And Nongshim, cresting 2,700 gold here on the Red Bull power play. Significant comeback in this game now. They still need to win a team fight to really put themselves in the lead, but a series of unfortunate events and greed from T1 is punished here, and Nongshim showcasing once again that they love these scrappy games and they will drag you down into it.
Yeah, and we're also seeing more proof that Dundun is 100% untiltable. We were almost tilted off the broadcast and we're not even playing the game, and they stuck to their guns. They fought back. They've still got a minute left on this Baron. 3.3k on the Red Bull Baron power play as well. I mean, this is anyone's game now. This is the ridiculous part about what's happening here. And now once again, you've got Fisher and Dundun. They're going to be able to take down this inner turret, and that gold gap has closed.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what is happening in this game, too. And I mean, Faker has gone full aggressive build as well. Like, he doesn't have any defensive itemization. He is not going to last very long. For example, if he gets interrupted on his dash in by Sylvie's ult, he can't set up a big Emperor's Divide. He will get burst down. I mean, this is a big Tristana now with all those turrets going down, IE completed, and there are just really no real tanks outside of Keria in this game. And T1, I think, really need to be very careful about how they play out the rest of these skirmishes, the rest of these side lanes. And Nongshim, they have Soul Point, and that might just be the final nail in the coffin that actually wins them this game, if they can actually secure it. The burst build on the Ziggs has definitely been working out here. Look at his itemization now.
Damage in the game, and he, like I was about to mention, Wolf, like he is about to finish his Rabadon's death cap, and then he's 6 items. And yes, some of them are cheaper items, but my goodness, he is definitely going to do a whole lot of work. And we saw already that he is absolutely executing these turrets, level 17 as well. Faker level 18. So we are getting towards the late stages of this game.
One team fight is all you need, and, and the Nexus explodes. Like, it's that much damage, it's that much AP, and keep an eye on Gumayusi's Edge of Night, because if that is on cooldown and Ziggs interacts with Senna, she disappears.
Yeah, 100%. As Sylvie is brave enough to try and go for Ona once again. He flashes this time around. The Glacial Prison will be respected. And that's how most of the time it should go, not like the weirdness that happened before. That was much better. Zeus, ooh, on a bit of a flank angle, still 4,000 gold ahead, but you can see some weird Senna shenanigans happening towards the bottom side of the gold graph that makes things very confusing.
Yeah, I'm not even going to acknowledge the Senna situation.
I'm just like, I could do some calculations, but my brain's already mush from previously in the game.
The key here to note is Ju has a lot of money, and he's built a lot of turrets. He has 327 CS.
He almost doesn't need the money anymore. And that's when Dundun might be able to get a money in this game.
He might get just exactly one money.
One money.
Well, this is it. Like, this fight is likely to decide the game. Even though for T1 it's not Soul, the wipe with all the damage they have in the glass cannon build here for Faker, I mean, they may even just be able to push down and end. Death timer's getting longer. Baron is up in a minute as well, so
oh God.
T1, I mean, they can try to delay this dragon and see if they can make a mistake out of Nongshim, but Nongshim have full control right now of the pit. Full proud. Sylvie, I don't know if he wants to be like doing this right now, but he's got a big amount of distance he needs to cover to get back to that dragon.
And Dundun is also, he's level 18, right? Like, he's got his 3 items, and yes, he's, okay, Zeus is going to stun him up. He does have his Merc Tread, so that's going to make him okay. As okay, Fisher finds the Buster Shot. There is the Zhonya's from Zeus as Dundun finds himself in a very awkward position and will be cut down. But Zeus is out of the fight for the moment. Keria is just going to gobble up Fisher, though. And now the Abyssal Dive comes in. He's trying to get out. Fisher survives for so long, but Ona is able to pick it up. And now the resets come in. How many? It's like resets on resets right now, as he does get one with the rocket jump also. And now Keria finds the tongue lash. Sylvie not going to get knocked up, but he is in so much trouble. And Nongshim, they did so well to try and bring it back, but like dominoes, they fall one after the other. And T1 will be able to find the fight. It'll take a while because Sylvie's got a decent health bar, but there is the ace, and it is clean from T1.
Yeah, unfortunate for Nongshim there. Really a sloppy catch there on the bottom side. Dundun not able to use his Mega Gnar there, unfortunately. Good Zhonya's there from Zeus. And his play, it looked greedy. I was worried for him, but ultimately will be what causes Nongshim to lose this game as Fisher tries to turn around and fails, and T1 will win it in the end.
And look, I don't mind. I just love the fact that there is so much drama. Whenever we have a Nongshim versus T1, it never disappoints. Faker picks up a double as he shuffles them out of the fountain.
I will say it never disappoints. But if you are a T1 fan, and if you are a T1 player, probably not too happy with how that one went.
I think it never disappoints depending on what your goals are, right?
I think there was definitely a lot of shenanigans that did occur. I think Zeus played very disrespectfully, but it was very fun, and it was very obvious that there was some limit testing going on here for T1. I think the coaching staff and the players' faces does show the sobriety of that T1 is now feeling after nearly tossing that one away. but they do ultimately win it again. And the fundamentals of the early game, the laning, the top side focus were good, but I gotta give Nongshim credit, almost even more so than B&K from the previous series. They punished well. I think Sylvie, who's had a lot of problems in terms of his early game pathing and being a little bit lost in terms of following the enemy jungler, tried his best to bail Dindin out in this game. Obviously, it didn't end up working. And I know it sounds crazy, but like, yeah, and Sylvie was so good, even though they completely lost top lane and Dindin fell 30 CS behind. It could have been way worse, and I know that's becoming a bit of a catchphrase here, but I have to say, Nongshim, it was cleaner than I expected.
Yeah, I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the Noodle Boys. T1 were ultimately able to take it in the end. I think, like you say, I think most of the homework was done correctly, and then they got a little bit sleepy towards the end. You know, it's just before you're going to go to bed, and some of it sort of slipped. But otherwise, fantastic work. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the space is going to break it down. Then we're going to have game 2. We'll see you there.
앞에 있는 것만 먼저 줘줘.
나르플 모르겠어.
일단 트리는 노플.
나르플 쓴 거 같은데?
내가 우물에다 W는 던져 넣을 수 있어.
끝날 듯? 나이트.
내가 우물 W 보러 갈게.
벤치 다이브 한번 갈래?
해도 돼, 해도 돼.
나 먹고 가주라.
가줄게.
나가.
간다.
뭐야, 어디 갔어?
뭐야? 궁 키고 가면 되는데.
Series, you usually bring that one to 3 at least.
Yep.
Maybe Calmy and Mihail will be the ones to do it.
And Colmy, always one of these players that in an off-season just destroys solo queue as well. Currently, he is rank 4. The guy he just gets it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this version of Nongshim is going to change up this draft. As we dive into it, it is once again going to be the Ashe ban first. The Jax actually immediately taken away from Mihail, definitely one of the favorites of his, so T1 not going to be caught unawares. I still think Cassante is probably where he wants to go.
Yeah, it's been, we've had a Cassante-less day so far here.
It's been like, I feel like the champion is just, maybe Cassante isn't good anymore, Wolf. Maybe it's just, we're not going to have Cassante meta anymore, Wolf.
Don't jinx it.
Maybe that's what's going to happen. It's just no more, obviously it's just fine. As Faker having a chat to the rest of T1, we'll see what they do decide on for their final ban here. It was Jax, Corki, and Rumble taken away first, and they have decided that is precisely what they're going to do this time around as well. Curiously, T1 chose the blue side to start off this series, and Nongshim chose red, and then chose red again.
Yeah, I was going to mention, that's a little bit puzzling to me with how strong the blue side picks are right now, and we're just going to leave Senna up again. Yeah. Senna was not ultimately the problem, and they can Ziggs again and try to play better. It could be a salty run-back situation here. But I don't know if you're going to get that big whoopsie from T1 like you did last time, because the game was playable not because Nongshim played out the drafts early and middle stages to a T. They kind of stemmed the bleeding, and then T1 made a whoopsie, and then they're like, we have Tristana Ziggs, and then they came back into the game. So you got to get Nautilus. That's a given. I think it'll probably be Ziggs again. That they do go for it. They'll take the Tristana, and I think this is going to be, at least for the first half, the same draft. But T1 can make some adaptations of their own.
No, well, actually, if you're going to be doing experiments, Wolf, it is much better to lower the amount of variables so that you can make the right assessment of the situation. So I think it's not even a salty run back. They just need an accurate run back.
Yeah, they need the control variables of the champions.
Straight up. And they're going to have to convince Owner to switch off Nidalee here. And unfortunately, he didn't go to the Viego. So we've messed it up entirely. Thankfully, it's only one whoopsie, as they do prioritize getting the bottom lane that they were looking for, of course. Can still be flexed towards the top side of the map, but there is the Ziggs. As Nongshim, they can at least control their picks to see which top and mid lane combination is going to be the best for their team.
Yeah. I will say Faker also largely invisible that last game on the Azir. The game really just wasn't about him. It was about the carry top Kennen. And that's something that they can now take away in the second banning phase if they would like to. The jungle options could also be pinched here significantly, as the Viego did end up getting POG, much to Huni and Ox's chagrin.
Yeah.
And it definitely might have some PTSD as well on the team for the unfortunate chase situation that didn't go so well. It will take the Kennen away. I like this more than banning the Viego because there's so many viable options with this Azir that, I mean, Owner will happy to play Lee Sin instead, for example.
Yeah,
so,
Lee Sin, Vi, Xin, like there are so many champions available, so I don't think they needed to worry about it.
Nidalee taken away here from Sylvie. Strong to have Tristana with the Nidalee in terms of damage profile, but they already do have the Ziggs here. I think Chronicler's probably thinking, don't ban the Nidalee. There's no way Sylvie could pilot that. And that's kind of where my mind's at, but they don't want to deal with the variants. They don't want to deal with the poke either in the late game with this squishy Senna.
I do think that Nidalee without setup in mid lane as well just feels pretty bad, and Tristana doesn't really offer too much of that, but still just not going to take the risk. There is a Vayne ban. I wonder if that means that T1 are thinking about a Cassante.
I think it is definitely the thought process right now. I think some Cassante considerations are happening. Could be denied by Mihail since he loves it so much.
He does.
But he's going to save the 5th for counter. Ooh. As I think with Ziggs, I much prefer the Maokai here than the Sejuani, especially when you consider how poor the Glacial Prison usage was in Game 1. Did not inspire confidence in this pick, especially when you consider there's not really any permafrost synergy in this composition at the moment. But he will lock it in just the same.
Let's see what T1 does to round out their composition.
Vi is a given, I think.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about prior, and that does make a whole lot of sense. Very difficult to buffer out of a cease and desist. But that is the Cassante picked up by Zeus, just denying Mihail's favorite champion. And a Graves hover, at least for the moment, was something that Owner was playing a heck of a lot of, and flexing it with Canna when he debuted on T1. Hovering Karthus for the minute, but I don't know whether Karthus Azir is the way. And like you say, the Vi obviously
has to be Vi. Karthus doesn't make as much sense in this draft. And it doesn't follow up, doesn't link CC together as well. Aatrox, now that's a callback. That is not what I expected. But there's not really much range top lane options left to try to deal with this Cassante in lane. The Gnar is still available and could have been played here, and they could have run back the draft, right, completely. The Aatrox is going to have a very different mid-game and is going to be able to, I feel, deal with this Cassante, if played well in the early game, has a lot of synergy with the Sejuani, more than the Gnar does, obviously. And so, you know, this is a good adaptation here for Nongshim Red Force, but it does, I feel like, kind of warp how this draft works scaling-wise quite significantly, because the Gnar is always going to be a pretty consistent engage tool, even from behind later on. As we saw, Dundun did not have a great game, was subbed out, but even when low resources was able to potentially set up for some nice Gnar bars, set up for some engages. It didn't really happen that way, but you could see that Gnar could still be relevant. Aatrox, if Mihail has a rough debut here, does not have the same level of control. I mean, if he plays basically the same game that Dundun had, falls behind, the Aatrox will do less than nothing, unfortunately. So that's the risk, that's the trade-off that you get with this one.
Yeah, I do not mind it just in the context of Mihail, right? We mentioned that he is kind of the Cassante guides. Obviously, he's most played by double that of the Aatrox, at least more recently. And you know, he does just prefer it. But the Aatrox has a really high win rate from Mihail. Like, he has been very successful in Challenger on this champion. So a lot of comfort. Just see whether it translates to success here on the main stage as we dive into the Rift for Game 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on the Rift. Game number 2, as we do have Ona scuttling up against Sylvie as Faker in position. Once again on the Azir, not mixing it up too much, and still base skin. A lot of skin swaps coming through for Nongshim though, trying to change the air, you know, a different vibe coming on in. And I think that if you're not going to change the champion, just changing up the skin choice, it's a great way of doing it. And so Call Me changing it up a little bit here. You can see that Jiwoo, he's ready to go on holidays. Definitely, like, Pool Party Ziggs is one of the better Pool Party skins, in my opinion.
I feel like Guma definitely learned the patrol key from Innovation, his older brother, on this one. He's doing a bit of a StarCraft right there. He's like, in StarCraft, you press the P key, but in League, I'm going to right-click to the left, to the right. Repeatedly.
Exactly. I wish you still had, like, the patrol option like you used to in the previous game. You remember? Ah, good times.
The previous game.
The previous game. Call Me jumps onto Faker here for a moment. And let's see how his Tristana is going to do, as we do have a controlled setup. Unfortunately, Mihail not on the Gnar is very sad because we don't get a direct comparison between the Nongshim top laners. But Call Me, he's been playing a lot of Tristana in solo queue as well, as we mentioned before, pretty high up there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Call Me's he's been able to lean on this Tristana pick quite significantly in the past, and laning-wise, I think Call Me, that's where people usually are drawn to him as, uh-oh.
Ooh, nice little hook here as immediately Gumayushi not going to waste any time, throws out the barrier to make sure he minimizes the amount of damage. Guga kind of wishes he has one of those. I guess his W kind of is one, but it's on cooldown for the moment. They do back away. Still decent trade, as Piercing Darkness not going to get that little bit of extra damage. And there's another hook. Bellow's Breath comes in, but Carrier's still going to take the damage. Yeah, fighting back.
Satchel back up as well. Carrier needs to be careful, be respectful of that damage. Could potentially come through here as he continues to pressure. First strike picked up again here, so no sort of Comet to continue to put this pressure on and then maybe actually get a big edge here. So I think Carrier and Guma will be fine ultimately, but some nice proactive plays from Guga landing the back-to-back hooks with that reduced cooldown. And it's going to be a nice trade. The first Satchel, unfortunately, not really doing him any favors in terms of putting Guma in harm's way, kind of pushing him further away. But yeah, otherwise a calm early game here.
Yep, just chilling. See Mihail trying to find some of these sweet spots, not going to get them onto Zeus, at least in this moment. You can see Sylvie rotating over, looking for a bit of a dive. Down to 400 health is Zeus. This is a possibility. As Permafrost up and available as well. Going to be starting it off with Sylvie tanking. There's the flash and First Blood with an aftershock. You love to see it. It's pretty cute. As now, Ona looking for a potential 1v2, but by that I mean looking for a way out. And he does manage to Vault Breaker over that wall. No interruption there from Nongshim, but that is a great start with First Blood.
And I think it all comes back to the sour spots. You know, Owner was up there, but Mihail missed all the cues, and he was like, nah, Sylvie can't be here. There's no way. Like, otherwise he would hit those. But no, it also...
I like sour spots. Have you been doing that before? Are you debuting sour spots for us right here? Because I love that.
I mean, I think that's what people call them, right?
Do they?
I don't know. It's the opposite of sweet, so...
I thought it was like not sweet spots, you know, and I just didn't think of the sour spots. I think it's fantastic.
I don't think I coined that, but, you know, I'll accept your,
well, whoever, let me know on Twitter who else coined it. Otherwise, I'm giving it to Wolf, okay?
All right, I'll take it.
As Ona is going to be able to take this one down, but Sylvie is here. Permafrost to come in as well, and does just wait for him to get over the wall before he chases him down with that one.
Close call on that. If the Permafrost hits on the other side of the wall or interrupts his dash through it, he might have to flash there. So Sylvie really getting a lot of value in this early game. Was pretty high resource last game as well.
That's a nice satchel there from Jiwoo.
That's the one that you want to see. As Nongshim, you know, starting off with a really good kill in the top side means that, you know, we're not talking about Mihail getting pushed in and losing lane. Like, push the lane aggressively, set up for that dive. Sylvie cuts across. Permafrost is good. Flash for the guarantee. You know, he might not be hitting his ultimates, but as we've seen in the LCK many times, especially, you know, good old Umpty, hitting the Sejuani ultimate's not always what, you know, the key part of the champion.
Absolutely not. And actually does have a fair bit of early power with the Frost Armor as well as Aftershock. You're extremely tanky. So it can be dented by the Vi. Of course, she is often picked into Sejuani for exactly that reason, but can be used for dives quite effectively. Saw that really come into effect. So nicely played by Silver. They're going to have to keep it up because as it was in the last game, T1 have a lot of late game power in this one. Good vision now available here as Colmy knows that Ona is in the vicinity. He's going to slink back into the fog of war. Sylvie is going to take his Raptors. So
Sylvie just having a great game, you
Yeah.
know? Now Guma roaming up here. See if Meow gets baited.
we're not looking for it just yet as Gumushi will just fade away from the brush. Sylvie moving up as well. I have an idea, an inkling that this could be happening as now he comes in. Mihail trying to keep them interested, but they're going to sweep out this brush, find out that there is some vision there as Ona starts off these grubs. A lot of people in this area, but you can see Colmy a little bit later on the rotation over
With
Faker
Baker.
gets here first.
Baker having 6, I just don't know if you really want to try to force this, Nongshim. And that Emperor's Divide can be fight-changing.
Oh, Hook is going to connect, but it is on to Zeus. Colmy now waiting for his opportunity. He just dives on in. Emperor's Divide pushes him out immediately and all out. He's going to get rid of the Tristana. Gumyushi's already taken down Sylvie as well. It's an absolute disaster here. Ona also tanking forever. Finally, he falls down, but Guga has to overextend in order to get it, and it's a double kill for the Cassante. It looked pretty good for a few moments, and then it was all over for Nongshim.
The problem is no matter what engage you end up getting in that scenario, Faker says no. And that's the problem with engaging into the Azir. One of the reasons why Azir is so meta and has been for basically forever is it's a team fight warping ultimate that he has. He has good prio, he pushes well, he does a lot of damage, he scales well. But those first fights on Herald, in this case Grubs, he is going to be so incredibly strong there, and you have to follow up on a hook, and that puts you in harm's way.
Well, speaking of harm's way, Colmy gonna have to get out of here, and does so. That explosive charge ignorable here by Faker, and he does so, as he does get another shove out on this wave.
And I can respect the concept of this, obviously considering that it is that early Aatrox power. He doesn't have a ton of items just yet, so he's not that strong, but he is going to be good in those types of skirmishes. I think if Faker wasn't able to rotate over or had to rotate over late, you definitely look for that hook, you definitely look for that fight. But Nongshim, they made it look close, and the engage was good. But ultimately, they do end up coming up short here.
Yeah. And
2 kills for the Cassante is a big problem.
No, it certainly is. He's well and truly back into this one. Bramble Vest as well as the Steel Caps. And it means that Mihail is going to have a much harder time. Probably going to be more of a bruiser build, I would imagine, for the Aatrox. Of course, you have a fair bit of flexibility. But that's likely what we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah, Mihail's searching Gore Drinker in the shop. And it's coming up.
Where's my Divine Sunder?
He's not too happy about the changes to the itemization.
Nah, there's a few of them. There's that cool one that's kind of like that item that used to be in the game a million years ago. And like the Atma's Impaler guy does a bit of damage based on your health. I don't know whether that one's any good, but
Now,
it might work.
He hooks Zeus as well, who's one of the tankiest members here, right? And if he hooks Faker, they might be able to burst him down despite the Emperor's Divide, but he's unable to get Faker. If Faker doesn't get caught by that, he hits Zeus instead, and then Faker just warps his fight. Now, this is still, I think, as well played by Nongshim as it could have been with the Emperor's Divide coming through, and it's not a nothing they end up picking up here, but ultimately it's giving T1 a huge leash here in this game.
Well, Guga going to taxi through via a minion. I'd like to say that that is intentional, but he may have just missed. As, all right, Gurish not going to get pulled back. How did he break those chains? Mihail kind of robbed on that one. Nicely played. Watching that back and actually during the fight itself, I was focused on Colmy, and I actually think that him rocket jumping right into the middle of people, probably not the way to start that fight. That's the thing that I was a little bit worried about, is he's going to jump in yet again on top of Faker, but not going to quite find the angle, just shift some sands, and the GOAT's going to get out just fine.
It's so big if Calmy can get that pick. If he's able to get that kill and get that reset early on in the fight. I mean, you have the Tristana, you have Aatrox, you just steamroll the fight.
And what happened was like a ruler situation, right? Like he flashes, still gets caught by the ult.
Yep.
And it's kind of all over there. Zeus even using him to taxi where he wants to go. Oh, even after the flash, caught by the Glacial Prison here is Gumayusi. So he's gonna have to burn his flash. And also still gets caught. So nicely done by Sylvie. Still not able to get the kill, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I'm just proud of Sylvie. He landed it.
Now, this time Jiwoo is playing into a Cassante and an Horn, so the burst build can still be viable, but it's going to be a little bit tougher to pull off here as the front line is much more robust this time around for T1, not going to be a Kennen. So we'll see how well this goes. It's going to have to be good target selection as Mihail's in trouble.
Yeah, Worldender is going to go down first up here as they do get the teleport in as well. It's a really nice Infernal Chains, but unfortunately it's Cassante, so he just dashes one of 700 ways out of there. And he is going to be absolutely fine.
Would you say he's unstoppable?
I would say that he is difficult to stop, Wolf. Almost impossible.
Unchained.
Indeed.
Well,
Calmy just back to laning. Faker with a decent CS advantage at the moment. And I think that, you know, T1, they've just kind of caught this 1.3k gold lead. They're probably looking to hold that for quite a while. And then just use it to very slowly get Gumayusi online, get Keria to masterwork some of these items.
I saw a comment after the first game about how T1's playstyle is so boring these days. Like, they keep drafting the Senna drafts, and it's always Faker's this year, even though he's, like, super famous on it, and that's very boring to me. But, look, T1 want to win, and they get early leads, and then they can just kind of chill. And that's, I mean, ultimately what these drafts are looking to do. They play aggressively early, they get some advantages, and then they're scaling with an Ornn composition. That's what this comp's designed to do. You don't have to just run around the map looking for picks non-stop. That's kind of Nongshim's job in this game, especially at this current game state. Speaking of...
All right, Jiwoo just throws some water bombs around. Not too much else is going to occur.
But you know, it does remind me of like 2021, early 2022 Gen G, where they play the standard comp every time. It's very slow, and they always win, but it's not that exciting. It does feel reminiscent of that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I also think that that's entirely irrelevant and a dumb take. Because if you want to win, do it in the way that is the best,
yes.
Right? And this is what they've discovered is the best for them. And I think you have to applaud it. And while I understand, you know, it might be not necessarily your favorite thing to see it over and over again, but if you're a fan, you probably want to see him win.
Yeah. As they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. But
yeah.
Actually, the game's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Freak's doing all right.
And I'm neither here nor there when it comes to the Fearless draft. You know, I kind of wanted to have that conversation. Maybe we'll save it for the POG stage. Maybe we'll have a big discussion on it.
You know how I feel.
I know, change, Wolf. I imagine you love Fearless draft and just want it in the LCK tomorrow, right?
The way I feel about Fearless Draft, the TLDR, is we already played it in the LPL, so like Fearless rules, you can't play it in the other regions now. It's done. You put Fearless in LPL, and now you can't play Fearless in LCK. That's the Fearless rules.
Is that why everyone has different takes on how Fearless works? Because you have to have different rules in every region? Oh, God, I didn't know that that was the way. Oh, man, I hope we get some cool rules.
Yeah, in the LCK, you only do it for CL.
Yeah. Wow, it really goes deeper than I thought. I didn't even know.
Owner is over here. I don't think they could dive a Nautilus Aatrox, but they're putting that pressure on the plates. And meanwhile, Jiwoo, out of mana, isn't going to be able to get the same pressure done here. So clock ticking against Nongshim here a little bit. Is Calmy maybe dead?
Yeah, Owner actually not pulling the trigger.
The spacing on this, man, that was actually clean because both ultimates for Owner and Faker there would have linked together to actually get his demise if he was like 1 centimeter closer in that instance, but he handles it well. He's also got flash.
Faker just walking towards Calmy. Nice flash. He's able to get out of it this time. Sylvie doing one of his patented ultimates here underneath the turret. And they are going to be able to make their way out as Hook just narrowly avoided by Faker with the blast cone. Can't avoid that one though, as he does flash to get himself to relative safety. Mihail with a nice flash Q, but that's about all he really got out of it. Dawning Shadow comes in, decent little hook. Mihail stays alive for quite a while, and Sylvie gets over the wall. Owner will go down, but it's another double for the Cassante, and they just took too long. And Zeus is going to be able to cut them down. Keria finds the knock up onto Sylvie as well, who's on the wrong side of the rift here, and he just gets searingly charged by the Ornn.
Zeus did so much in that fight to keep everybody alive. Faker narrowly escaping the initial parts, and then Zeus just comes in. If someone ever wondered if you're like new to MOBAs, if you're new to you know, like game terms, if you're like, oh, somebody said that he peeled for him, what does that mean? What Zeus just show them that clip of what Zeus did in that fight. That was insanity. 4 kills now on the Cassante. It was accelerated a little bit earlier on in this one. He is sitting on a bunch of components, but he's got big money and he's going back to the shop right now. We're going to go all the way back to this moment here where Call Me does have the flash perfectly used against the Emperor's Divide, but Sylvie, you said his ult was patented. It feels like it in this series so far. If that is connecting, maybe they end up getting something back, and then they overforce and overchase. Yes, Faker gets caught here, but look at Zeus blocking all of Nongshim, and then Call Me just goes in. He's like, no, there is no way we retreat. I'm actually going to hard force this, and then just gets absolutely popped by Zeus again. Yeah. Faker doing damage over the wall the entire time, and then Keria with the TP flank here on this Ornn is going to secure the kill on the Sylvie. Nongshim, they saw blood in the water, and look, last time they got the punish in game 1, but this time it backfires in a big way.
It did not quite work out, and I'm thinking about your Aslan reference again. I mean, someone should check on him. He's just covered in prisons now. There's so many of them. Unfortunately for Sylvie, not able to find that one. Hook is going to connect here from Guga, though, as Keria in position. And Guga immediately feels a little bit uncomfortable about the decision he just made. Punished immediately, Faker able to grab that kill. And Nongshim now find themselves without a support, and it's kind of crumbling, it's kind of falling apart, and it's feeling like T1 just has Nongshim exactly where they want them.
It really does. And it's a comp that scales incredibly well, but the Cassante is just so large already. Like, he went from components to a big fist and some really spiky armor very quickly.
Yeah.
He's so incredibly tanky now and so sticky as well that you just can't break through him. I mean, a Kraken Slayer only Tristana is going to take a long time to actually get through that, and the Profane Hydra Aatrox, he's going to hurt himself more than he's going to hurt the Cassante trying to swing that thing around. So
it feels real bad, doesn't it? You see 2 full armor items, and then you're like, I just finished my first lethality item.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh god.
It's just, it's not a good situation. And I mean, again, in this fight, it's optimistic to think that you could actually end up forcing this Herald fight, even if you have the numbers advantage. Ziggs isn't here. Doesn't have the ability to teleport into the fight. Like, it's very disjointed. I think Nongshim really just falling apart at the seams here after a series of really close to greatness plays, but yeah, you know, T1 were just the stronger team on the day. It's not over till it's over, but it's feeling pretty close.
Feeling like it's getting there. I also think that T1 upgraded their draft as well with this one as Cease and Desist comes in. Mihail is going to get all-outed and destroyed. The Mega Inferno Bomb just not as mega as it has been in other games in the past. And T1 looking for an inner turret here as well. They've got a cannon minion. They will be able to cut this one down. Oh dear. This is getting into shellacking territory as we crest the 18-minute mark. Baron not even on the map yet, and it's a 6,000 gold lead for T1. Yeah, we're going to have a look at this gold gap. And it's only, the damage gap is only 1,000. So there's that. It's 3,000 on the gold though.
So Zeus is like, all right, after game 1, where I had my jungler just completely camp and get a huge lead, I'm going to show you I could do it on my own in game 2. Faker, whoa, gonna be all right.
That water balloon did some crazy stuff, man. That was like the wanted water balloon.
Yeah, that's like the moment where, you know, okay, hold up.
All right, Sylvie, he's looking to try and get out of here. Might be able to do so as Bellows Breath is going to absorb the Glacial Prison. Pulled back by Zeus as well, and he is just being thrown around like a ragdoll, or a rag 4. And Ono was fighting Mihail and realized that he is not Zeus, and that's not a blast cone, and he's able to get out.
Well, you know, I feel like Pulbay would be proud of what Sylvie attempted there.
Bit of flanking?
Yeah, a bit of flanking. A very deep one is...
Oh, max range hook from Guga, and he is going to be placed underneath the turret. Mega Inferno Bomb does go down. The Ignite absorbed by the Zhonya's, and Faker, he does have to flash, but he does make it out as well.
Faker's got perfect KDA despite a series of shenanigans, let's say. It's like Nongshim are just trying to annoy him, and he's
also absorbing all of that pressure. Yeah. All Nongshim want is to kill Faker. As Jiwoo once again going to take down this turret, and once again going to get punished. No, never mind. Oh, there's the cease and assist. 1v3. Owner says, all right, he'll trade his life for it. As Faker, he was rotating over, but he is now, he was sort of 1v3, but he's actually just fine. As he is going to survive once again, walks away with 300. Zeus goes all out underneath the turret. The double knockup is just gorgeous from Carrier, who's able to tank for about 16 years. I think I was rounding down on that one as well, as Sylvie, he's able to Arctic Assault his way out, but the rest of his teammates are lying in the sand, and that is going to be the outer turret falling. T1 making short work of this one.
I mean, it just cut the tape. I mean, Faker's got plot armor like I've never seen in this game.
Yeah.
The satchel helping to save him in that last exchange.
After game one was a little bit close, everyone went to the Faker temple that was set up. As, oh, okay, maybe this is the caster curse. As Jiwoo looking for that flank angle. Gumayushi gonna flash another one to Aslan. As now Guga, he will find Faker. How does he get out of this one? He's got, no, never mind, he just doesn't. And Zeus, he's found Mihail, does push the Aatrox into the wall, but maybe that's exactly where Mihail wanted him. Finds the third Q, and that is gonna be the kill going over to Call Me. Where have I seen this before?
Okay, so this
the
is when
eulogy was read way too early, I think.
This is when Nongshim hold up the game one playbook and they're like, all right, Baron, go to Baron now. As Cougar's gonna buy time.
He is definitely doing that. The Ram comes out, nice buffer on the dredge line. As we can see, he is buying time because the Baron currently going down right now. T1 taking their frustrations out on the Nautilus. Final punch does come on through. Looking forward to Arcane 62 as well as, the Rift Herald is going to do some scouting, and he gets the information that the Baron does go down.
Wait, how many laps?
And Guma's like, well, now it's time to take the inner turret, and he's not going to be able to get there. Runs out of time on that one.
I wanted to see a second lap.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
Could have made a Mario Kart circuit. Well, they do end up getting the Baron ultimately here after a series of very strange events. This is how it all starts off as Faker is able to Emperor's Divide, dash, satchel bounce, and then go Zonia's, and then escape despite being ignited there with the flash ultimate. He did all of that to try to save his flash, and he said, okay, fine. Decides to flash in the end. And then we'll see, I guess after this, the second exchange where he comes over here, and then the satchel actually ends up kind of ultimately saving him here as they try to collapse onto him. Watch this.
Yeah. Decent buffer from Colney as well to avoid the Ram, but in the end, Zeus is really large.
Yeah, and
Carrier very good.
He's very large as well. He's very in charge. Now, this is where things get a little bit too greedy for T1. We've seen this before.
Huh.
He just wanted
I missed the Mega Inferno Bumble.
Yeah,
that was a strange one.
He wanted to see if blue buff was up. Didn't want to check the minimap, but look, T1 could have all been in there backing, wants to get some information there. He misses, so does the Sylvie ult, but T1 are too low on health and too far up. I mean, there's not much to explain here. There's not a sync play. It's just T1, once again, stepping a few too steps far past the line. Nongshim take them out, take Baron. And hey, it's only a 5,000 gold lead. Last time we were like, oh, it's only a 4,000 gold lead. Then they were able to even that up.
I mean, it's basically the same. It's the same situation all over again.
Yeah, and it's still Ziggs Tristana, and it's still turret bursting.
Yeah.
There is a Cassante this time, though. The Cassante has Jack shows.
And there is also an Ornn, and I feel like Carrier on Ornn has a lot more agency, not to mention the fact that he's level 14 now, can start upgrading these items, the Master working to come through now, and so there are a few extra variables that Nongshim are going to have to take in mind, but if they don't mess up a huge team fight like they did in game number 1, this could easily be a W. That's absolutely, well, easily is a weird word to use there, Atlas, but
it could strangely enough be a W.
Yeah, it could. It could difficultly be a W. As Mihail not going to be able to find those chains onto Owner, but they still do manage to get him out of their jungle as the Infernal Drake up and available. Last time around, Nongshim did manage to even out the Drakes, getting to 2-2, I believe, at one point. In fact, I believe they took the third dragon.
All right, Owner is, if he gets seen on this flame, and he definitely has been seen, if he gets caught by Sylvie's ult, you know, it might be the first time this series, but it could be enough to stop the jungler and take this dragon. He does wrap completely around now.
Yeah, Mihail on that flank angle as well. He can get into that pit with the Umbral Dash if he would like to, as Sylvie is looking to try and make sure he's there to contest this smite.
I mean, Zeus,
I think they want a team fight. I don't think they want to go for, let's just take the dragon and get out. I think it's just trying to find that ultimate angle.
Pope needs to hit for Ziggs. He's got 800 damage. This fight needs more.
Oh, Sylvie with the steal, so we even out the dragons.
Okay, T1 just walk away from this one, and there's no Constellation mid-turret to take. They're just going to try to push up into the mid lane, but Nongshim will be able to get these backs off. I don't think they get the inhibitor turret here. They just get to push in, so T1 really gaining nothing in relinquishing this dragon, and the game continues. T1, they have a draft that scales incredibly well, right? They have these ornaments coming through. Faker's the first recipient here, and we will see some of those come in as time goes on. Obviously, Keria has the upgraded Frozen Heart as well, so I mean, Mihao gets less relevant as the game goes on for a while. Then he gets more relevant if we get super late.
Yep.
But this isn't the way. Back away. That's not the way to get more relevant.
He is, yeah, he's just looking for his opportunity. Throws down the World Ender, but that's not on exactly the hugest of cooldowns, so not exactly too worried about it.
I mean, Faker does have the shattered arm guard, and that means he's going to have a Zonias. That'll be pretty helpful defensively against this Aatrox, but on the other side of things, Guma only has the Edge of Night, so if Mihail encounters a non-Cassante, non-Ornn champion, he's going to do a lot in these fights. So a lot of this is going to be determined by how well Gugur sets up these hooks. If Sylvie can hit some ultimates, maybe lock down one of these squishies, then Mihail can do a lot of work, and in the longer fight, then be able to take out the tanks later on. So that was very satisfying CS right there. I really feel like this game is still T1's to lose, but, you know, we have seen some crazy things in this best of 3 already.
We certainly have. If it's going to go the way of game number 1, then there's some funny business, and then ultimately T1 gets their act together and finds a team fight and then wins it out. But Nongshim, let's see whether they can get their ducks in a row. Find some of these big circle ultimates to start things off, get a pick into, you know, one of these team fights where Mihail can get some of these resets as well.
And after mythic items for so long, the Ludens plus the Leandries feels like an identity crisis. So I look at it, I'm like, you can't do both. You can't be like burst and sustained burn damage. But he kind of is going to be able to do a little bit of both with this build here. And I really loved the point that Ox made. It was so beautifully said on the space when he said, you know, Jiwoo often makes that weird mistake at the end of the game, even in the last T1 game when he was on the Smolder, and you're like, oh, if he had just played it better. But the only reason they were still in the game was because he had played so well the entire time.
Yeah.
Game 1 was just like that, where he was able to clear so consistently all of the waves, and that's part of why, again, in this game, Nongshim are still in it, because he's got such great wave clear, especially now with this Leandries, to where it's hard for T1 to go, okay, we gave the dragon, but we'll push an inhibitor, because he's just going to keep cleaning that up, even using his ults oftentimes to clear the waves. He's keeping them in it, and if he plays out that last team fight a little bit different than the one we saw in Game 1, maybe they do get that W.
There is certainly an opportunity.
I feel like I have to be like a mystic to discuss this series.
No, I know. I don't know. Like, we need to get to that part of the newspaper, you know? Like, what does your horoscope say today, Wolf? I'm a Taurus. Can you read mine out for me?
Call me Drew the Hierophant card.
Oh, God. I think I got the full, unfortunately. But I don't necessarily know what that means because I don't know which card I played previously.
I think we're all fools to predict this game as they're doing Baron. It's a T1 moment here. Rotation coming up.
It's going down extraordinarily quickly. The teleport in from Mihail will get him into the fight as Mega Inferno Bomb to at least lower the health bars somewhat. And Zeus maybe caught out of position. Well, he's Cassante, so never mind. And T1, they move back towards the Baron. It's secured by Ona. The double knockup comes in from the Call of the Forge God, and now they throw the kitchen sink at them. Call Me to be taken down so low as Zeus gets into the fight in the nick of time, and Keria somehow survives as well. Faker is able to take down yet another one, and he's able to kite them out as well. And Jiwoo, once again, the last man standing. Game 1, Game 2. Is there a difference, Wolf? It's another team fight for T1.
It's another one, this time on the Baron. And for Call Me, you've got to be the one who lives there. You go in to secure the kill and you die, and that's all the damage gone as T1 still have Faker, still have Guma. It should be Jiwoo who dies to go for the kill. He's the one who's got the burst. And now you have no sustained damage, no way to clean up. And Guma's going in.
Yeah, he's looking for it. Oh, man, even the Piercing Darkness doing so much. Faker just slides on in to help him lock that one down. T1, they secure the delayed ace, and they will be able to take at least this inhibitor turret. We'll see whether they can actually do more here as the top lane also being attacked. as Zeus pushes that minion wave in. They get the snare very nicely onto Sylvie to make sure that they can at least secure that turret. But the game will continue for now, but it is now a much larger deficit. A huge uphill battle now for Nongshim.
6,000 gold off the Baron here. And look at the damage coming out here from Jiwoo is huge. Zeus also occupying Mihail in the bottom side of this fight, but Calmy's positioning here is a little bit suspect. He wants to help Sylvie try to get the steal here, but then he is just flying through the bouncy castle in this one. Flashes over and yes, gets the kill, but dies for it. A slower, more measured approach to try to punish the Baron take rather than steal with the Tristana damage, I think might have been a better option here. Nongshim go for the 50-50, and they come up tails, and then Jiwoo here, if they can eliminate him, they feel like perhaps there's not enough wave clear to stop the end, but they still aren't able to actually push this advantage further. Only a single inhibitor going down mid off of the kill onto Jiwoo, who's now back up and spawned. He has his Crypt Bloom online, and the game continues. But I feel like this one is tough to throw, even if T1 really do wad it up and wind up their arms.
Oh, wow, okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, Calmy he had some health before. It's definitely gone now. Nice call, the Forge God comes on through. And Mihail not even going to be able to get into this fight as the Dawning Shadow comes down. Guma's like, I'm a carry now, guys. And he's going to be able to take him down yet again. Faker is there, picks up the kill. The flash forward as Guma just wants to take this game. He's done. He just wants to go home. That is going to be the bottom inhibitor going down, and Ona, he's walking straight towards these Nexus turrets. Never you mind. They're not going to waste their time with those turrets. This game is over. T1 pick up the 2-0. It wasn't necessarily clean, but in the end, I don't think there's any disputing who the better team on the day was.
No, I don't think so. And I think ultimately it doesn't matter how clean it gets. It's a Nongshim T1 series. We've seen some real messy ones over the last few seasons.
This doesn't tell us of any change between either of these teams.
It really doesn't, but it also is going to be reflected as a 2-0 in the official record. And if you're a T1 fan, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I think there were definitely some questionable moments for T1. It looked like they were happy gaming at times, though, and who can blame them? I gotta say, though, Zeus, 2 back-to-back fantastic games, crushing Dundon, and then rookie Mihail coming through. Looked very good in the team fights. Faker also with some crazy escapades this game.
That last kill onto Calmy just kind of blew my mind, because I just wasn't expecting him to be that much stronger than the Tristana in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, he was almost like full build, I feel like, at that point.
Yeah.
Even Zhonya's gives a lot of AP now. He hurts really hard. And so did Nongshim. I feel like it's frustrating when you felt like you were so close to actually stealing a win away and it's taken from you. And then in game 2, it felt like maybe you're close enough to actually maybe slowly get your way back in, and then just some tough calls. And a great Baron call from T1 is ultimately what ends up ending the game there. It's common. It's a T1 thing.
Yeah.
And they pull it off once again.
It worked out really nicely. And I think that, like, yeah, there was those moments, you know, like the staggered backs that Nongshim punished very, very nicely. But the fact that T1 can then just sort of brush that off, find themselves that Dragon fight that, yeah, they lost to Dragon, but they ate so much Baron time from that, and then moved themselves back into a more neutral position, set up for the Baron that they eventually did manage to take, took the team fight, and won the game. I think when you have a Cassante that's this fed, though, it just feels like it's so much more difficult if you are Nongshim to deal with him. As this moment, I still think that, like, there are a list of things that Calmy could have done there, and he didn't do the one that was the goodest.
Yeah, I do agree. And this is where the game really opened up for T1 early, and then this moment here for Zeus is where it felt like T1 couldn't lose the game anymore after this. And when Zeus becomes this big, we talked about it from the outset of the game. I was like, well, I mean, Ziggs is going burst again, but Cassante is going to be real tanky. He obviously didn't have that much MR, but ended up getting the Jack shows. And I feel like with how large he was, you felt priced into trying to build the Leandries as well, but it's an expensive add to a build that hurts the identity of the Ziggs, weakens its ability to burst down Faker, weakens its ability to burst down the Senna. And so it felt like there were 2 half measures taken here instead of a full measure for Nongshim in terms of what they were trying to do. But from behind and with the game state, it was really rough. But this is the moment where it felt like, okay, another bit of an overextension from T1. Maybe Nongshim once again get back into the driver's seat, but it's this moment here, and great setup from Keria in this fight with the Vi ultimate. Calmy just didn't get to play the game, and unfortunately, he's half of this team's damage. He needs to play the game.
Yeah, he's the really important one. And Cougar also, like, caught outside of the play there a little bit also, not in the Baron pit with the rest of his teammates, as this was where, you know, Calmy was just wiped off the rift before he could even really react to it, as T1 take the victory march up the bottom lane.
아트 아무것도 못하는 중.
아래 좋아 아래 좋아.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory from here, but some of the reactions from T1, the call's a little bit, I don't want to say frantic, but definitely very serious, you know? It felt like a lot of the time when you see T1 win a game like this and Stomp, it's a lot of laughing, it's a lot of joking, but
I tell you what,
no one's smiling.
Faker looked real dialed in
Yeah.
for that last one after picking up that solo kill to start this one off. And then all business for T1 here in game number 1. Faker also doing the most damage in the game on this Azir. Really looking like he warmed up in this series.
I think a lot of people will compare the win for Genji earlier today and T1's win and go, well, clearly Genji win the big match on Sunday. But I think for me, like, some people's takeaway will be, did T1 almost lose to Nongshim? And I think it depends on who you ask. But for me, I don't think so. And I think that I'm not going to read into this series really at all. I'm much more looking forward to how T1 match up against Genji. That's where we'll get a little bit of a better read.
Yeah, I don't think that you can really take too much away. And after watching T1 for all these years, like this roster, it doesn't matter who they're against. It always changes, right? But it's now time for us to throw it over to the space to see what they thought of this series.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the POG interview translation, joined by Owner and Faker on the side of T1, who just got their first win of summer. Congratulations! You have secured the first win in the opening week. How do you feel, Owner? Such as it was the opening week, we really wanted to win, and I am so glad that we were able to get a clean 2-0 victory. Faker. Yeah, I feel great that we were able to get a clean victory today. And your opponent today was Nongshim, who has shown a promising side against stronger teams. And they've actually taken T1 to Game 3 multiple times. So what caution did you take today? Last spring, yeah, we definitely felt that Nongshim was fighting back very hard, so we definitely took caution and we really wanted to prepare well and be ready for today's match. And Viego made an appearance today. He's actually not a popular pick currently, but your Viego, Owner, is definitely different. So how do you rate Viego and the team? Yeah, with AP junglers making frequent appearances, we believe that Viego would be a really appropriate pick. And I feel like that's just the right answer that we had against AP junglers, especially. And we witnessed Owner's great escape in Game 1, so let's take a look at the replay. And after, you were left alone here to be chased round and round to survive in the end. So how do you pull these plays off? I think I just tell myself, I need to live. I really want to survive. And I think I got pretty lucky here. And being able to live and survive here was pretty nice. And Faker, how did you feel about this play? Yeah, I wasn't really looking at top. I thought he was already dead, but I think he was just able to juke the enemy's skill really well. And Owner, with Nidalee being a viable pick in the current jungle meta, are you happy? How do you feel about that? Yeah, since I haven't been able to play Nidalee yet on stage, I'm sure that when the day comes, I will have a lot of fun and I'll be very happy. And in Game 2, Faker, after Nongshim swapped their mid and top, they took Summer's very first Aatrox. What was the plan to deal with him? Aatrox was a pretty common pick in spring. And I believe that
이번 썸머에서는 아직
Zeus is
등장하진
pretty
않았지만
experienced and that he would be able to deal with it very well.
네, 그리고 요즘에
And I think he did actually execute it pretty well the way he played against Aatrox. And with the frequent Tristana and Corki matchup, there was Corki bans in both games, and you played the Azir Tristana matchup. So what makes you prioritize Azir against Tristana? I think I just have a lot of experience with Azir, especially against Tristana. Just that matchup I'm just very used to, and I think that's just how I prepared for this kind of matchup. And I believe that Azir is always a viable pick for Tristana. And your next opponent will be Gen.G. So how will you prepare for Sunday's match? I think we'll just try to make sure that we have an enjoyable match. Just remembering all the times that we weren't able to win against them, I want to make sure that we are able to display a really good performance and have a good game. So it looks like a fan just got hired and they said that they're able to watch T1's match as a present, and another fan seems to have just gotten laid off. I'm just really grateful that you guys are here to watch us play. And yeah, we're actually quite, we have our weak side against Gen.G, but I want to make sure that we're able to pull off a better game in the future. So we'll make sure that we are ready. And Baker, I'm sure many have celebrated your achievement as the first player to be a part of the Hall of Legends. So any shout out for the T1 fans? Yeah, I believe that our results didn't really really show how much we have prepared. And in last spring, we started off by losing to Gen.G, but I want to make sure that we start off strong by winning against Gen.G this time around. And that's the end of the interview from owner and Faker of T1, and now passing it back to the space. Thank you.